I first watched Free Iwatobi Swim Club when it aired back in 2013. I wasn't as excited as a lot of other fangirls seemed to be. I'd never really gotten into sports anime, nor was I a big fan of Kyoto animation. But I liked being in with the hype. Free was everywhere, and I didn't mind the opportunity to practice some BL shipping. I ended up giving it a 6 out of 10 once the show was over. I just hadn't enjoyed it as much as the rest. But a year later I jumped on the bandwagon again. Even though I wasn't excited for Eternal Summer, I still wanted to be in on what happened. By then I was all about knowing my anime, and I felt like Free marked an important step in the evolution of the medium. I never expected to be completely blown away by the second season, but as I watched it, it quickly made its way up my favorites list. I absolutely loved it. I gave it a 9 out of 10. That was a couple of years ago. Recently I went back and rewatched all of Free, and I found that I still felt the same. The first season was merely alright, while the second played with my heartstrings. So I asked myself why. What makes the second season so much better than the first? Free Iwatobi Swim Club looks pretty damn good, as to be expected by any Kyoto animation show, and it took the world by storm when it first aired, but it does suffer from a few fundamental problems that I wasn't able to look past. The thing that immediately got to me was the straight out unlikable characters. Rin is a total ass throughout the first season. He constantly lashes out at people and hurts their feelings. What bothered me even more was that the characters still try to reach out to him. And I get it, they want to help him, save him, whatever, but Nitori is basically subject of abuse from Rin and still follows him around like a lost puppy. Apart from Haruka and Rin though, I found the characters to be very one-dimensional. Nagisa appears and urges the rest to start a swim club, his motivation seemingly coming out of nowhere. Rei reads a lot and is the comedic relief character. Both Go-chan and Ama-sensei lack character, their only traits being that they like muscles and spurs unrelated quotes respectively. But Makoto is the worst. His motivation to swim is so unconvincing. He wants to swim with his best friend. Neither of them has swum for years. Why this passion all of a sudden? I can understand Haruka. Loving water is his character. But Makoto? Makoto also acts as an exposition teller on Haruka that isn't actually needed. He often stares intently and nods in Haruka's direction, allowing the viewers to understand what Haruka is really thinking. This is pretty redundant as Haruka's character speaks well enough for itself, and it seems like Makoto's fear of ghosts was slapped on as an attempt to add depth to a flat character. I found the humor in Free to feel very off. Had it been a comedy, it might have been funny, but this anime threads a dangerous line between serious and light-hearted. The anime takes itself very seriously at times, often making characters cry or even fight. The sentiment is sickening. The characters always deliver cheesy lines to each other in an attempt to build character. This grimness is a poor match with the comedic elements. Haruka's bond with Rin is an emotional journey that I couldn't take seriously because of the off-putting humor that appears in between moving the story forwards. The anime fails to balance the heartbreak and the fun. I'm not sure what genre Free actually belongs to. Is it a sports anime, or a drama, or a comedy? There's barely any sports in it. The anime spends a lot of time on side stories like teaching Rei how to swim, characters getting lost on an island, or avoiding Rin at a summer festival. In its defense, the last couple of episodes were pretty great at handling drama and resolving the issues between Rin and Haruka. It's a heartwarming end to an otherwise messy plot. It's clear that Eternal Summer was much better thought through. It starts off with introducing what will be the main obstacle for the main characters, what to do after high school. It hints at this in the early episodes and gradually explodes into a big issue towards the end. There's a lot less fan service in this season, focusing instead on the interrelationships between characters. The obvious looks of understanding have also been subdued. The humorous start allows for a gradual decline into the drama, which is much more appropriate than the going back and forth that we see in the first season. Eternal Summer has a few filler episodes, but they clearly serve the purpose of building character. When Nagisa runs away from home, we finally learn about his motivation for starting the swim club and what it means to him to swim with his friends. Rei finally learns how to swim properly, which nicely bridges the characters' relationships in the past and the present. The greatest character improvement is in Makoto. He seems unsure what to do about his future, but when he helps out at the local swimming club, he starts figuring it out. Finally, we see him as someone detached from Haruka, with his own plans and aspirations. There are two storylines that drive the dramatic elements of this season. There's Sosuke's injury and his feelings towards swimming, and Haruka's insecurity about the future. Sosuke is introduced as a new character in the first episode, and already we can tell that his behavior is suspicious. He urges Rin to keep working towards his dream of swimming and warns Haruka to stay out of Rin's way. Pretty weird, right? After all, Sosuke doesn't even know Haruka and the others. It's only towards the end we learn that Sosuke's shoulder is actually injured and he might never be able to swim again. Everything makes sense then. Sosuke hopes that Rin gets to achieve the dream that he himself can't have. He doesn't want Rin to waste valuable training time on relays, because swimming is an individual sport in his opinion. But as he spends time with Rin, Nitori and Momotaro, he learns the value of friendship and how having that kind of support can help an athlete's mental health. Sosuke's arc is truly one of the most heartbreaking I've seen. Sosuke was well on his way to achieving his goals when suddenly he can no longer compete in swimming competitions. It's not a question about perseverance, some things you simply cannot fight. It's a bit too naive to have Rin in the last episode challenge him to get better and meet again in the world of swimming, but I guess the fangirls couldn't handle an ultimate defeat. What makes Haruka's internal conflict work so well isn't just the foreshadowing and the gradually increasing size of the problem, but that it's so relatable. Haruka doesn't have any dreams, he feels too insignificant for them. All he wants to do is swim, but he rejects the prospect of a future in swimming, because caring about times and races goes against his values. The way he loses more and more of his drive to swim is proportional to his team advancing in the competitions. Towards the end, everyone around him seems only to care about good results. The high school principal puts pressure on him to produce these results, telling him he's the pride of the school. Makoto keeps asking him about his unclear future, and Rin keeps insisting he should go into competitive swimming. But Haruka can't handle the pressure. He drowns under the constant nagging and eventually loses his will to swim at all. This is important because it was Haruka's passion for water that made the anime enjoyable in the first place. Haruka's innocent view of the world is shattered and he realizes he won't be able to keep swimming after high school unless he enters the competitive world of swimming. It breaks the heart of the other characters as well as us poor viewers who just want Haru to be able to swim. Not only does Haruka stop in the middle of a race, but he has a big fight with his best friend. The stakes are high now. Haruka is in danger of losing his passion and innocence, as well as his friends and any prospect of a future in swimming. The resolution solves this beautifully. Rin takes Haruka to Australia, showing him a world outside of Japan. Haruka is anxious, never having visited another country before, but he is clearly mesmerized by it. At the beach in Sydney, he tells Rin that his argument with Makoto was his first fight, and we see then just how sheltered and fragile Haruka really is. He might have lost a shred of innocence then, but it shows us that Haruka is growing up too. With his eyes finally open to the outside world, Haruka returns to Japan. He tells his friends that he will start caring about times and winning just so he can keep swimming, because that is what he truly loves. He finds a way to make sense of it all in his head, and he finally starts dreaming. Haruka's fear of pressure and the stage is something a lot of us can relate to. We might not be professional athletes, but we all have hopes and dreams. Some are so far-fetched we're scared of pursuing them. We also have expectations forced onto us from all directions. Expectations to do well in school, get a good job, please our family, make the right choices in life, etc. And sometimes the expectations others have of us don't coincide with what we want. And that's the feeling I feel Eternal Summer nails. Eternal Summer is an emotional tale of growing up. All the different characters struggle in their own ways. Figuring out what to do after high school is hard. I know I struggled with finding a purpose when I was at that age. Coming from a small town, it was hard to find the confidence to pursue my dreams, but much like it is in real life, the characters in Eternal Summer work through their issues and one by one find solutions to their problems. We get a happy ending. Haruka finds his own dream in swimming, all the while staying true to himself. Unlike the first season, Eternal Summer knows exactly what it is. It knows the story it's trying to tell, and it knows the audience that is watching. For me, that's the big difference in the two seasons, and that's why I feel the second season worked out so much better than the first.